this is under vectors, and we want to find the angle between two people. So what I mean by two people here is that suppose you walk from this line to this joint here, and then your friend also walk from this line. You guys meet at this intersection, right? So we want to find the angle. This is the angle between the two of you. So we want to find this angle here. Or maybe if you are in the four square room here, right? Suppose this is your room, and then you want to find the corner here, right? The angle between this one. That is exactly what we are dealing with. This is just for an understanding purpose. So you must know something. Once you know the route to your destination, I think your problem is 80% solved. So what do we know here? This is one thing you have to know, right? So this is the guy that can take us to our destination by finding the angle between two vectors, right? So you must know this guy at high school. So if you want to know why this thing, I think this is for the tertiary high level of mathematics. So if you want to know this thing, maybe you have to go to the tertiary and then know how to prove this thing, or at some of the high school education, right? By the way, this is one thing that you have to know in order to get to the destination where we can find the angles between two vectors. Let's use these questions and know how to apply this method on them. So the understanding of this thing is that this theta is exactly the corner, right? You call it a theta. That's the angle between the two of you, right? That's the angle between, or maybe that's the corner of your room. But this A and B are the two things that are involved. So maybe you are here, your friend is here. Is that okay? So if you are here, your friend is here, and then this thing means the distance, or how many steps have you taken before you guys met out at your meeting point, right? So let's explain. So all that matters here is that you must know where this guy is coming from. So this is you, this is your friend here, and then this is the distance that you took before you reach the destination, and this is what the distance your friend also took before you guys met out at your meeting point. Okay, now you are giving, suppose this is you, right? So you are giving A to be what 6i plus 3j here, and then you are giving your friends to be what negative 3i plus 6j here. So here these are the players, right? These are the players that are involved. So this means that multiplication, right? So the dot between the two is that we should multiply these two guys, and then here says that we should take the distance, right? The distance between what you maybe your friend. So this is your distance, this is your friend's distance. So now first of all, let's find the multiplication between the two of you. So a dot b, right? A dot b. So how do you multiply? You multiply left to left. What I mean by the left to left is that, so this is I, and then this is also I, right? So let's say this is you guys took the left direction, so this is the left direction, this is also the left direction. So this multiply by this, and then this one also multiply by that, right? Remember, in multiplication we are not interested in the direction again, right? So this is just for understanding purpose. Okay, so here 8, here is what 6 here. So 6 multiplied by negative 3 here, so that of you multiplied by that of your friend, so that will give me what negative 18, and then 3 here multiplied by what 6 here, that one will also be what 18, right? So that one be 18. So negative 18 plus 18, that should be 0. Okay, so that is what the 0, the multiplication between two. Remember that we are working according to this destination. Is that okay? So we need this guy, that guy, and that guy. Okay, now that we find the top one, let's look at the down one. So the down one here is what the distance. This means the distance. So how many steps have you took before you get to the meeting point? So maybe let's say that is the distance, right? So how do you do the distance? You square what? Remember how you guys look like. You look like this. So two things are involved here, right? So you are here. Maybe let's say this is your left leg here, this is what your right leg. So something of that nature. So for us to find the distance between the two of you, you have to square the first leg, which is the number here, plus what the square for the second leg. So your first leg here, that is 6, that is all 6 squared here plus 3 square, everything square root, right? So this guy will give us what the distance that, or the step that you took before you met your friend. Okay, so if you do the calculation perfectly, you should arrive at root of 45. That gives me what 3 root 5. Okay, so the same thing applies to your friend, so right? So if you do the same thing, you should get something like 3 root 5. Okay, maybe this is just an assumption, maybe both of you are taking the same step, so this is just for an understanding purpose. right? Okay, now that we know the top here, and then we know this guy, we are free to go, right? We know that this guy will take us to our destination by getting the angle, right? The angle between the two of you. So what do? Just plug in, right? You know that we have cos theta to be equal to 0. You remember that this 0 is coming from what? This times that, right? So the 0, that is what we got after we multiply, remember? Okay, now so 0 over what? Everything here. So the length here, the length of maybe your distance that you took, and the distance of that of your friend. So it's exactly what is happening here. So here you have what? 3 root 5 being multiplied by 3 root 5. So 0 divided by that should be 0, right? So the answer is 0. Remember where we are going. We are looking for this guy. So now we have what? Cos theta to be equal to what? 0. So this is the angle between the two of you, right? So this guy is what we are looking for. Okay, now if you have cos theta to be equal to 0, you have to take the cos inverse of this one so that the theta will stand alone, right? Okay, so just like saying if you have 2x is equal to let's say 3 here, you are going to divide both sides by what? 2, divide here by 2, right? To get your x here. But here in trigonometry, here cos theta, we want a theta, so you have to take the cos inverse, right? So this means that theta is equal to the cos inverse of 0, right? That is equal to 90. Okay, so meaning that the angle between you and your friend is 90 degrees, right? So perfect. So this is how simple you have to use that method. Remember that you must watch the video to the end so that you can see how you can apply the different method in solving the same question or different type of question. Okay, so the second part of the question says that you should find the length between the difference of the two of you. So let's say the question says to find the length of a minus b, right? A minus b. So the length, remember that I've already explained the length, but what are we finding the length for? We are finding the length of these two guys, so you must know them first. They say a minus b. Is that okay? So a is this guy from the question, and then b is also that one. So a minus, so everything is a, and then everything is also b, right? So a minus b. So a minus a is here, b is also here. Remember what I said earlier on, in vectors, if you are subtracting, you subtract the left to left. What I mean by the left to left is the I to the I and the j to the j, right? I to the I and the j to the j. So here you are having 6 here. So 6 minus negative 3, right? 6 minus negative 3, that should be positive 9 here. Is that okay? That should be positive 9, right? So this is what 6 minus 3, right? So remember here it tends to be positive, so you're having 9i, right? 9i, and then you have 3 minus 6 here, that should be negative 3j. Is that okay? Okay, so now that we know the difference between the two of you, then we can find the difference. Yeah, here maybe, sorry, we can find the length, right? The length, the distance. So this is what the question is asking us to find. So you should find the distance between the two of you. So this guy is what we are finding the distance of. So remember that we had 9 and then negative 3. So 9 squared here plus negative 3 squared, everything being square root. So that should give it root 90, and then the answer to that should be 3 root 10 units, right? So this is how simple you solve this type of question. So let's look at the second question. Here. From the question, we are given two people, right? So this is the first guy, and then this is the second guy, and then we are told that these two guys are what? Perpendicular, right? So is it in mathematics or in high school mathematics, you must always know something, right? You must always know something. So in vectors, when you say these two guys are perpendicular, what it means is that if you multiply the two, we should get 0, right? If you multiply these two guys, we should get 0. That is when the two guys are perpendicular in what? Vectors. So if you say that these two guys are perpendicular, meaning that the multiplications of the two should be equal to 0, because if you watch the first part of the video, you should know how to multiply by now. So that is the p here. Don't worry about this guy, right? Just assume that this p is just a number. So p multiplied by the 3 here will give him 3p, right? And then the q here multiplied by the 1, right? Negative 1 here, right? It's a negative 1 here, so q multiplied by 1, negative 1. That should be negative q, right? Negative q, so equal to 0. This is just a definition that says that if the two guys are perpendicular inverted, so the product, right, the product of the two of them is equal to 0. So if you multiply the two of you, meaning that you are perpendicular, then we should get 0, right? We should get a 0 here. So that is how we equate this one to 0. But remember that in the question we were told that p here, this guy here, is equal to 2. Is that okay? This p here is equal to 2. So we are just replacing the 2 by the p from this equation. So we have what, 3 into bracket or 2 here. So here is the p here, right? Minus what, q. So that should be what, 6 minus q, right? So if you solve everything, you should have your q to be 2. Right, so straightforward you go. So in high school mathematics, make sure that you always know something, right? Make sure that you always know something to have your problem being solved easily. Okay, now look at the second part here. Look at the second. So pay a close attention. So we are giving what, the length of one guy to be what, m here, right, one side, and then the length of the second one to be what, 5, right? And then you say that the sum of the two guys, so the sum of the two guys is equal to root 229, right? So root 229. So let's say you work from this side and then your friend also work from this side, something of this nature, right? Is that okay? So the distance that the guy took from here to here is 5, and then the one that your friend also took from here is so you know that the summations of the two is equal to that should be what, root 229 from the question. Is that okay? And then what are the extents to find? They say you should find the angle between the two of you. So let's say here, just similar to the first question. Is that okay? But look at the way the thing looks like. Which method? What do we know? What can we apply to get this thing, right? So the one thing here, one trick here is that you must come up with the guy that calls a cosine rule, right? So suppose the theta is the guy in between or the two people. So this is just for understanding people. So that's the theta. We are calling it just a theta, right? You can call it anything. So this is the angle between the two guys here. They say you should find this angle, right, based on information so be given here. So what can we do? Well, what do we know? What can we use here? So the guide that we are going to use to solve this type of problem is a cosine rule, right? A cosine rule. But why? The question here is why. So look at something. This look at where the angle is. We don't have any power here of the high school to use the note to in finding the angle. Unlike the first question, that's the straightforward, right? You may go back and check the first question carefully. Now if you extend this part to be something of this nature, and then here also goes the way, so maybe let's say this intersection here, right? So you can see that this line here is equal to the line here, and the one here is also equal to that one here. Is that okay? So here you can replace here by what, 180 minus theta. The question here is why are we doing this thing? Once you know that the cosine rule, if you know how the cosine rule function, if you have a triangle, right, if you have a triangle in which you have like one side or maybe two sides, you want to find what the other length of what, you may use the cosine rule. So let's look at how you can apply the cosine. The cosine rule says what are we finding here? We are finding what, the angle between what, the two guys. Is that okay? We want to find the angle between what, the two guys here. So here is the cosine rule that says that m plus n squared, right, is equal to the first guy here squared. So this m plus n here is this length. So if you want to redraw this, you can easily redraw this triangle here, right? So let's say you want to redraw triangle, something like this, right? So we have here to be what, m plus n here. You have here to be what, to be n, and then we have here to be m, right? So something like this. Is that okay? So this is the angle. You see, the cosine rule, we apply that when one side of the triangle is not up to, if it is 90, we can go for the Pythagorean theory. So that is another guide there. But if none of this side is what, 90 degrees, we cannot apply the Pythagorean theory. You have to go for the cosine rule, right? So that's always know something where we can apply it. So that is why we are applying the cosine rule, because one of the sides is not up to 90. We don't have any side of the triangle that is, of course we are not giving any side of the triangle. What we are giving is just the length, right? We are giving a length. So let's look at how to use the cosine rule together. So here we are having what, cosine rule to be what, this guy here squared, right? This guy here squared here is equal to this guy here squared plus that guy squared minus what, just know, if you want to know more about this cosine rule, make sure that you watch one of our videos on the channel. I'll leave the link down somewhere below for you to have a look at that. Right, so this is what we call the cosine rule. Okay, so this is exactly what we call the cosine rule. That is that m plus n squared is equal to m squared plus what n squared minus what to the length of m multiplied by the n minus the cos of the angle here, right? The cos of this angle. So we know that by the definition of a double angle, you are having the cos of 180 minus theta to be equal to negative cos theta, right? If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube. If you have any question, just comment down below, right? Comment down below. We are ready to help you. So look at something. This guy, we know this guy from the question to be what? Root 229, right? So we are just replacing. So root 229 squared is equal to this m here is 5 squared here, and then we have n also to be 5 squared minus the 2 here. This number is already 2 here, so this guy is just m here, this guy is m here, and then minus the cos theta here. Is that okay? Remember that we are looking for this angle. This small angle is what we are looking for. So now that you have all the numbers, if you do a calculation perfectly, you should arrive at 229, right? 229. So this square will cancel that square. So here will give you 169 plus, so here will also be 120, right? 120 here. So remember that this guy tends to be positive because of the negative and the negative here. Is that okay? So this negative here is pushing us to this negative to be a positive. So that's how I got a positive number here. So what are we looking for? We are looking for this, just this side, right? We are looking for this guy. So if you do a calculation, you should arrive at the cos theta to be equal to 60 over 120. So that should be 0.5, right? 0.5. So we are looking for what? Guess what? This small guy here, yeah? This is the angle that we are looking for. So theta is equal to cos inverse of 0.5. That should be 60 degrees. Is that okay? So this is how simple you apply these two different methods in finding the angles of between any lines, right? So thank you for watching this.